Earlier this year, I had a chance to check out the HP NVX2 and the Lenovo Mix 630, two devices running Windows on ARM, where you get two real key benefits. Really epic battery life and always on connected LTE. So I was curious to see what Samsung would do with the Galaxy Book 2 when it announced that it would be running the Snapdragon 850. So I've been putting it through its paces since I unboxed it from a few weeks ago, and I've been using it as my daily driver, much in the same way as I use my Surface Pro 6. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is my review of the Samsung Galaxy Book 2. Coming up. Want to see more videos like this? Well, why not hit that subscribe button and make sure you hit that notification icon. This way you'll be alerted every time I post a new video. And don't forget to check me out on my social media, especially Twitter, because that's where I post all the latest updates. If you haven't checked out my unboxing and first look video, I encourage you to do so as I go over the tour of the device and I cover things I won't cover here. I'm going to focus on performance, battery life, and overall use of the device in this review. So if you haven't done so, I'll put the link below. Check out that unboxing video. For the past few weeks, I've been using the Samsung Galaxy Book 2 as my daily driver, much in the same way as I'd use my Surface Pro 6, my favorite tuned one so far here for 2018. I wanted to see how it would compare, and I have to say, it compared pretty well, but it wasn't quite perfect, and there were a few things I think Samsung can improve in the next iteration. But having said that, Samsung's on the right track here, but it's not just quite there yet, but they're getting close. Let's talk about it. In a somewhat calculated risk, Samsung decided to use a mobile processor to power the Book 2. It's the Snapdragon 850, and I was a bit skeptical going in this because I thought maybe they should have gone with the more traditional Core U processors, perhaps a quad-core processors, but they were going for a mobile experience. They wanted excellent battery life, and they wanted to be able to make this as thin as possible. So they went with the Snapdragon 850. Again, that would give them some more flexibility, but at what cost? Would the performance suffer? Well, let's find out. Now, before we get to performance, here's a quick rundown of the specs. One of the big problems here that a lot of people have been pointing out in the comment section, and I think it's pretty obvious, is the paltry 4 GB of RAM. Why they didn't go with 8 GB, I'm not sure. Now, I just took delivery of the Lenovo C630. That's also running the Snapdragon 850, but that one has 8 GB of RAM, and I definitely can tell you it does make a difference when you're doing multitasking and have multiple tabs open in Chrome, for example. So we'll check that out in a little bit. I'll post that review in the next couple of days or so, but why they went with 4 GB of RAM is beyond me. I think they could have done a better job putting 8 GB of RAM in this device. Now, having said that, here are some of the performance results. Now, one of the biggest surprises to me is the multi-core score on the Geekbench 4 test. Now, I understand this is a synthetic benchmark, but really, the fact that it got a 7106 is comparable to the Samsung Galaxy Book, the original, which ran a Core i5-7200U, and that speaks volumes because the 850, the Snapdragon 850, has come a long way since the Snapdragon 835, which really suffered from performance issues, as we discussed in the review of the HP NVX2 that I reviewed earlier, as well as the Lenovo Mix 630 that I reviewed earlier this year. Those really were fine devices, excellent in terms of battery life, but when it came to performance, that's where the issues were found. Now here, that's not so much the case, and after a few updates, Windows on ARM was running smoothly, and I get these kind of results showing you that it can compete. But what do all these benchmarks really mean? When it comes down to it, at the end of the day, you're going to be using this for Chrome, multiple tabs, you're going to watch Netflix, YouTube. You just want to have a good experience. You want it to be smooth and fluid. And I can tell you, watching Netflix, watching YouTube, very good, no problems in full HD. I had no issues bumping it up to 2K, no problems, could even play 4K. I didn't find any delays. Opening multiple tabs in Chrome, it worked. Of course, if you're going to do 20 tabs, it's going to slow down. So, you got to be reasonable when using this device, but overall use was actually pretty good. Now, of course, this is not a AAA gaming machine by any stretch. You can do very limited gaming with this processor, but you can do Windows Store gaming without any issues as far as I'm concerned. It's like any other mobile processor. You'll get those kind of results. But then again, AAA titles are not in the cards for this device. Now, one thing to be aware of, this doesn't run 64-bit apps. That may be coming later. I'm not sure when, but right now you're limited to 32-bit apps, and that might be a deal breaker for some, so please keep that in mind. Okay, so one of the reasons you'd buy a device like this is for really good battery life, and I did two kinds of tests on this device. I did a continuous web surfing test and a movie playback test. Now with the continuous web surfing test, which was over Wi-Fi at 150 nits, it did really well, 11 hours and 31 minutes, but not quite as well as the Lenovo Yoga C630. That did 12 hours and 46 minutes. I'll go over that a little bit more in my review of the C630 coming in the next few days or so, so give me a little bit of time for that. But getting back to this test, it did really well. And then my other test that I ran, the movie playback test, 1080p at 200 nits, check out some of these phenomenal numbers, 17 hours and 10 minutes, and that's great. And it's not even as good as the Lenovo Yoga C630, which did a whopping 18 hours and 46 minutes. And it also beat out the Microsoft Surface Pro 6, which got 14 hours and 48 minutes on that same test that I ran. So what this tells us is the Snapdragon 850 is a really efficient processor that will give you some really epic battery life, that's for sure. But without any doubt, the star of this show is its stunning, gorgeous Super AMOLED display, and in typical Samsung style, the deep inky blacks, the really vibrant colors that just pop off the display are all here. Everything you'd want in an excellent display is present, and I have to say, Samsung did an outstanding job and has certainly hit a home run here. You're looking at a 12-inch display with a resolution of 2160 by 1440. It's obviously a touch display and it worked flawlessly. As far as responsiveness, it was spot on. And I also love the fact that this has a 3:2 aspect ratio. To me, that's the right balance between getting work done as far as productivity is concerned and watching Netflix and YouTube and consuming media. That's the right balance. And at 350 nits, this is a very bright display, good for both indoor and outdoor use, and here's how it stacks up against its competition. And for all you creative professionals out there, it covers the color gamut pretty phenomenally, in fact, 200% sRGB, that's outstanding. Now, one leg up over the Surface Pro 6 is the fact that the Galaxy Book includes the S Pen at no additional cost. So that's something that's different from the Surface Pro 6. We have to buy it as a separate accessory. It now comes with a holster. It uses the Wacom EMR technology, meaning it's battery free. That means you don't have to worry about getting quadruple A batteries or anything like that. That's really good, and it works really well. It has some really good pressure sensitivity. In fact, it's 4096 levels of pressure sensitivity, and the palm rejection was spot on with this device. Also new is the fact that it now has an eraser on the top. I really like that, especially when you want to get a quick note down and then you want to erase it. It works flawlessly. Taking notes in a classroom or meeting, this works fine. I actually am a big fan of the Wacom EMR technology. I think it feels like pen to paper, very smooth. I thought it really did a good job. I'm very happy with this improved S Pen. And I'm sure many of you are wondering, well, where do you store the pen? Well, now it comes with a holster, so that's something new, but it also sticks magnetically to the side, just like the Surface Pro 6, just not as strong and not as securely. So that's a bit of a negative. But I think the pen is a real good value proposition, and I'm happy they include that at this price point. Now, Samsung wanted the Galaxy Book 2 to be more Surface-like, just like the Surface Pro 6, so they included a kickstand with that sturdy metal hinge, and it also gives you a very low profile, low angle for typing, and I really like it. It works really well. It also has a multi-stage backlighting, really bright, really good. I actually like the way this lights up. It has really good key travel at 1.6 millimeters, good tactile feedback, and the touchpad works as advertised, two-finger scrolling. Everything worked well, very responsive, and Windows 10 gestures work as advertised. Now, it's not quite as premium feeling as the Surface Pro 6's type cover, so I'd like to see that improved in the next generation, but this is definitely a step in the right direction. I like what they're doing with this type cover. Now, when it comes to the ports, as you see here, you have your SIM tray, which houses both the microSD card slot and the nano SIM for your LTE. And on the other side, you have two USB-C ports. They do data charge and display out. And they're nice to see a 3.5 millimeter headset jack. Worked well, no interference, no static, and that's pretty good. Now you have a fingerprint sensor located on the back. I'm not crazy about the placement. I kept hitting the camera on a number of occasions instead of the fingerprint sensor, so that's not great, but when I did hit it correctly, it did register my finger pretty much every time I used it. Worked well, great for Windows Hello login. The 8 megapixel camera on the back took pretty decent shots, pretty sharp actually for a 2-in-1, not too bad. And the front facing webcam on the front is not Windows Hello compatible, but it did do okay in terms for Skype and other video conferencing if you need it. The dual AKG speakers sounded pretty good. They're Dolby Atmos, so meaning you can tune them to your liking. And when I did, it actually sounded really good. I did an example in my unboxing video, so I'll link that below to give you that example. It's hard to do it on video to really give you a clear example of the audio, but suffice it to say, the sound is pretty good on this. Now, one of the perks of running a mobile processor such as a Snapdragon 850 is having gigabit LTE built into the device, so getting good uploads and download speeds, always connected, really good for the on-the-go executive or a student on the run. This really worked out well. Battery life was really good, obviously, as we went over, so having it always on and being connected, to me, is a great convenience factor and definitely one of the reasons you'd pick this up. Now, here in the US, I tested it with AT&T, worked really good uploads, good downloads. It is compatible with Verizon, and I don't know if it's compatible with T-Mobile. It should, but if anybody's used it with that, let us know in that comment section below. So to wrap it up, can I recommend the all-new Samsung Galaxy Book 2? And the answer is yes, this was a pleasant surprise. Stunning Super AMOLED display. It is simply gorgeous. Improved design, it's more Surface-like. I like that. And it has the pen and keyboard included at no additional cost. Fast built-in gigabit LTE and outstanding, even epic battery life. But of course, this is not perfect. There are some things they can improve on. And one of the things that I think Windows and ARM can improve on is the fact that it doesn't have 64-bit apps. They're not supported, at least not yet. The pen magnet was not strong enough for my liking. And I love the Snapdragon 850, although it's not quite as good as a traditional Core U processor. It's definitely a step up over the Snapdragon 835. I'm going to give it a score of 89%, making the Samsung Galaxy Book 2 worth your money. So what do you think about the Samsung Galaxy Book 2? I'm a big fan, and the reason I like this type of device is because I'm the kind of person in that camp that really wants great battery life, epic battery life, really great longevity, decent performance, of course, out of that Snapdragon 850, and the fact you're getting that Super AMOLED display. It really comes together to me, and if you're looking for the type of device that's always on and connected, and you need that longevity, this is for you. It's great for taking notes in a meeting or in a classroom. The improved S Pen certainly comes through here. I like the fact that it now has an eraser on the top, 4,096 levels of pressure sensitivity, Wacom AES technology, no need for a battery, no need to recharge. All that are really great. The big negatives here, maybe the processor for you with 4 gigabytes of RAM may not be enough. To me, it worked okay as far as opening multiple tabs in Chrome. As long as you don't do like 20 tabs in Chrome, you'll be fine. But if you're looking to AAA game on this, you're not going to do it on this. That's not what this device is designed for. It's designed for the person who needs really great longevity out of their 2-in-1, always on connected LTE. This will get the job done. The fact that it has that Super AMOLED display, which is absolutely gorgeous, is even better. Watching movies on this is simply fantastic. Netflix, YouTube, all work great. If you want to watch 4K, you can do it on this. Now, I've seen a big improvement from the 835, the Snapdragon 835, to the Snapdragon 850, which is powering this device. That is the difference maker from those devices I took a look at earlier this year, which was plagued by doggish or sluggish performance. I think there's a definite market for this, for those, again, who need that longevity, always on connected LTE. But again, I am curious to know what you think. Let me know. So please hit the like button, please subscribe, please share this video. Don't forget to leave a comment in that comment section below. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if there's a device or something out there you think I should review. I'll do my best to try to make that happen. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram, and of course my website, AMDtechreviews.com. So until next time, this is Andrew from AMD Tech. See ya.